Welcome to the little lone grave of one of the bravest and finest men to ever call Niagara Falls his home. Edward Sarsnet was most likely born into slavery in Virginia in 1842. He spent his early life in Virginia and then came to Niagara Falls. The exact circumstances are unknown. Perhaps he was a runaway. We do know that he worked as a porter for the New York Central Railroad, that he stood 5 foot 11 inches tall, had a mulatto complexion, dark hair, dark eyes. On February 10, 1864, he enlisted from a train depot and joined Company K, U.S. Colored Troops, 14th Heavy Artillery Regiment, Rhode Island. By 1864, the 14th was assimilated into the 11th and was posted to defenses at New Orleans and Baton Rouge. The 11th had a grim history as it suffered the highest number of deaths of any black regiment during the Civil War.
Shortly after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, the U.S. War Department issued a General Order number 143, which established a Bureau of Colored Troops to assist with the recruitment. The United States Colored Troops were regiments of the U.S. Army during the Civil War that consisted of African American soldiers. By the end of the Civil War, there were 175 regiments, 1/10 of the Union Army, containing 178,000 black men. There was no true equality, however. These colored troops were led by white officers like Charles B. Gaskill. Their rank advancement was limited and they received less pay. The U.S. colored troops were some of the first to enter Richmond when it fell in April 1865. They were also present at the surrender of the Army of Northern Virginia at Appomattox. 25 African Americans were awarded the Medal of Honor during the Civil War. 15 soldiers of the U.S. colored troops were recipients. Frederick Douglass, the famous American social reformer, writer, orator, and former slave, called the African American men to arms in a famous proclamation on March 3, 1863. He served as recruiter in the New England states and sought men from all over, including New York State. Perhaps Edward Sarsnet heard this proclamation on one of his stops in Massachusetts. Perhaps he found the words inspiring.
When first the rebel cannon shattered the walls of Sumter and drove away its starving garrison, I predicted that war then and there inaugurated would not be fought out entirely by white men. A war undertaken and brazenly carried on for the perpetual enslavement of colored men calls logically and loudly for colored men to help suppress it. Only a moderate share of sagacity was needed to see that the arm of the slave was the best defense against the arm of the slave holder. Hence, with every reverse to the national arms, with every exulting shout of victory raised by the slave-holding rebels, I have implored and imperiled the nation to unchain against her foes her powerful black hand. Slowly and reluctantly, that appeal is beginning to be heeded. Action! Action! Not criticism is the plain duty of this hour. Words are now useful only as they stimulate to blows. The office of speech now is only to point out when, where, and how to strike to the best advantage. There's no time to delay. From east to west, north to south, the sky is written all over. Now or never. Liberty won by white men would lose half its luster. Who would be free themselves must strike the blow. Better even to die free than to live slaves. This is the sentiment of every brave colored man amongst us. The counsel I give comes of close observation of the great struggle now in progress and of the deep conviction that this is your hour and mine. In good earnest then, and after the best deliberation, I now for the first time during this war feel at liberty to call and counsel you to arms. By every consideration which binds you to your enslaved fellow countrymen, and from the peace and welfare of your country, by every aspiration which you cherish for the freedom and equality of yourselves and your children, by all the ties of blood and identity which make us one with the brave black men now fighting our battles in Louisiana and in South Carolina, I urge you to fly to arms and smite with death the power that would bury this government and your liberty in the same hopeless grave. I wish I could tell you that the state of New York calls you to this high honor. For the moment, her constituted authorities are silent on the subject. They will speak by, and doubtless on the right side. But we are not compelled to wait for her. We can get at the throat of treason and slavery.